Today we are speaking with Dr. Dimitris Antoniadis, and we're going to talk a little about demystifying project controls. Dimitris, you're very welcome to Project Management Paradise, and thank you for talking with us today. Could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into project and program management?
Yes, Caitríona, first of all, thank you very much and Project Paradise for the invitation. And how did I start? 33 years ago, I decided to join the construction part of project management. I had just finished my degree in mechanical engineering, but unfortunately, those days, if you were not a civil engineer, you could not get into project management. So I joined the profession as a project control engineer. And then I worked my way up and through various organizations to become a program manager, then head of PMO. So I spot between project management, program management, and head of PMO. So basically, and on the way, I did a part-time master's in project management. And then because I didn't know what to do between 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock at midnight, I've done a part-time PhD.
Part-time in the wee small hours. Well,
Yes.
yeah.
But basically it was because I was looking at how and what is happening around us on the project. So I was thinking with all these processes and everything that we have and should be running properly, why do we get that many, project failures? And this is why basically my PhD is on complexity in project management and specifically in project teams.
So you kind of came into the business, say, over 30 years ago when project management wasn't really considered a science back in those days, which of course it is because we need the controls, which is why you went down that route. Tell us what you think, Dimitris, are the main misunderstandings people have about project controls?
It's apart from thinking that is black art, basically, yes. Sometimes people, think, oh, I don't think of that. They think of it as unnecessary. Unfortunately, despite all, what the Project Management Institute and the Association for Project Management have been saying for the last few decades now, they see it as unnecessary. They see it as fragmented. We see a lot of fragmentation in the project control, if I can call it industry profession. It's something that the concept that is something that we need to do if, and when we are on delivery, or is too much unnecessary software. That's the other thing that some of us, and I have to admit in my early times, was thinking that software will give us all the solutions, which is not the case. So, and basically it's how do you sell the concept of project control? Everybody knows about, the processes that are needed in project management, but how do you need to sell the process of project control? And that is the biggest, I think, issue that we have around us now.
Mm. And so you'll have people who, as you said, think it's a black art and they depend maybe too much, as you said, on the software. How do you re-engage those people and bring them back in to say, look, project control is quite simple. And in fact, so much so, I'm going to write a book about it.
Well, this is exactly the reason I did it, because I did want to show people that it's not black art. What I always said in all my positions, especially when I was as head of program management offices, I told people that, project control is like a loose straitjacket. You need to follow the standards that have been set up for the last 50, 60 years now of what needs to happen to project control. But you need to allow the flexibility to the project managers that they are accountable for delivering the project, right? To move within bandwidths that are given not by project control, but from the company. Yeah. And the other thing is, project controllers need to understand that project control needs to not just with the project team that delivers the project, but there are other disciplines like finance, like procurement or supply chain, like design, document control. So these are all these things that project controllers need to understand that they need to work with. And by just sitting in front of a laptop on a Primavera or an Open Plan or a Microsoft project doesn't make you really a project controller, because you need to be talking to people to get all the information you need.
Yeah.
That will guide the project team to project control.
So you hit on a few of the principal controls there, like your finance, so your budget for your project, your schedule, and your resources then, and
exactly.
To tie all of those together. Have you any tips for project managers who may be starting out, or who may be just examining the way that they do things, to say, let's try this way? What's your number one tip?
Tips for project managers. Look at using the standard project management structures. And by that, I mean the work breakdown structure, right? Or the cost breakdown structure. These are the standards that you need to kick off your project with. And your project controller is there to help you do it properly. Many times it comes the other way around. The project controllers are the guys that come back to the project manager to say, this is what we have to do.
Right.
Sorry. And the project manager says, no, that's not the way I see it. So project managers, and this is the reason I wrote my book, Demystifying Project Control, making it clear to, project practitioners that it's not all mystic and black art. It's the basic standards that have been set up for decades now, and then implementing them properly on your project.
And you spoke there as well about the project controllers and the project managers speaking with each other. And certainly I'd say a running theme in, I'd say nearly every podcast we have, communications is key.
Exactly. And it's both. It's not, that's why I say it's not you're isolating yourself in a room and you work your black art through the scheduling tools. You need to be communicating, and communication happens in both directions. The project manager asking and the project controller also asking and receiving that information and data that comes. You need to, if you're a project controller, you need to drill into the detail of the data you receive and then be able to analyze it and sit down with the project team and the project manager and talk about it. And it's not that's because I said so and because the schedule said so, this is what we're doing. That's not the case.
So we're talking a little here at quite a granular level, right down at the project. Yep. And for you and your experience in running right through to directors of PMOs, at the more global point of view, where then do the project controls, do they run away like a runaway train, or how do we manage those controls across the program? Sorry, yeah.
At program level, you need to roll up, and obviously you need to be able to report up to the program managers or senior project managers are in that position, directors of the company. At the same time, though, at that sort of senior level, you need to be considering the other directors. If you're working for a client environment, you need to be looking at your client to the delivery, which is your asset management department or another department that delivers projects. You need to be working closely with your finance teams, and that's the finance director, obviously, if needed. Strategy director, if it's needed, because PMO is looking at the more strategic level, rolling up all the data and enabling, decision making through the information that comes out from the project control tools.
And I guess that's really key in some of the transformation programs that you've worked in over the years.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little about some of the nice guidance you might have given as Director of PMO, incorporating all of those directorships to deliver the program.
For the transformation, and as I said, you need to keep an open mind, and that is thinking that what does delivery require for a successful, delivery of projects or programs of work, but at the same time, think of how finance that has a specific deadline every month, right?
Yeah.
At that particular point in time, finance needs that information, the data that will enable them to run their own processes. So you need to be talking to finance. You need to be talking, in my case, I had to talk to Treasury because I worked for organizations where the Treasury needed to commit the company in working with foreign exchange. So the Treasury Department would come to me and say, I need to know what are we as a company going to procure from a number of different countries in the world. And therefore, I need my FX to be more, I need to hedge for my foreign exchange. So you need to be an open mind and look around at the players. At the same time, one thing I am not excluding is the people that deliver the work. I'm not talking just about the project manager. I'm talking about the subcontractors or sub-consultants that work within the teams. And this is the intricacy that comes from the outside. And organizations, not all organizations have the same standards. Therefore, you need to work with these people in the companies and see what exactly is the information they want. If they work with you, if you're on a client environment, you from the client side, you need to understand what these organizations require for them to survive, really, and have a successful, project from their side as well.
So you mentioned there's something that we all know, and sometimes we kind of might just put our heads in the sand when it comes to the 29th or 30th of every month, or the third or sixth month in the year. So the finance have their deadlines, end of every month, end of every quarter, end of every year. You've worked on some huge projects with the big financial purse, 3.5 billion.
Yeah,
A couple of those kind of ones. How do you manage, or how do you, ensure that your project controls are in place to manage that enormous budget?
But obviously, the project control, the PMO in that particular case, supported the program managers. Yes. So what we needed to do is set up the reporting of I call it my Bible. Maybe some people think he's exaggerating. Is the project control plan or the project control handbook, as I many times call it, that is agreed by everyone. So sitting down with the finance department and agreeing at the cutoffs, which will allow the project teams to report properly progress and allow finance to work within a week, perhaps, with the figures, come back and confirm, and therefore we all sort of sing from the same hymn sheet rather than, projects reporting progress X and finance saying you're way behind or you're overspending. So it's the coordination of the interfaces, which was part of my also PhD, and that's why I was, when I was thinking about it and read about complexity, it's the interfaces that happen between the parties and the people that cause the problems. So as head of PMO, I was looking at these interfaces, and in that particular case with the Ignatios, a major interface was the European Commission, where they were the funders of the program of works. So every quarter they will come and audit the way we do things, to justify where the money is going and is the money allocated properly and spent properly, but obviously ensure that our processes are transparent. So it's
it is certainly complex, and you kind of wanted to you need to keep everybody headed in the same direction with their focus on the prize, to deliver our project on time and on or under budget, preferably.
Exactly. And you're all in a team, working, you're not groups, you're a team working for the same output, a successful output, be that a project or be that a program of works, because at the end of the day, it's what the company needs to do and how you're going to make it successful for the company.
Exactly.
And it's not like, you know, as I said earlier, is that we have, unfortunately, we have this um, splitting of the disciplines in UK within project control, and you see schedulers doing the schedule on their own, quantity surveyors doing their own commercial side. You get others, you know, risk management being kept separately, and everybody's doing their own bit with no coordination.
Yeah, and in different systems and different applications and different processes, and the way everybody processes things differently as well. So yeah, certainly, yeah.
Which causes a big problem. You can imagine if you have a project controller working on a scheduling tool and reporting X, and then you're getting person Y with it from a different discipline saying, but in my Excel, I am saying that it's this. So you get the directors and everybody else then questioning what is happening here. And it's an unnecessary conflict. And by the way, we are in the 21st century, and software packages have been developed so much that they can help rather than hinder the processes.
Yes, and that kind of single site of everything, that's certainly core systems are working on. Powering transformation is the tagline. So to keep everything under the same roof, so everyone has sight of all the elements of the project.
Exactly.
And just touching on that there as well, there's a lot of talk on now, Dimitris, about business intelligence and artificial intelligence, machine learning and all of that. Tell us, what kind of future trends do you think we should expect in talking specifically about project controls?
Project control. I mean, there is a very good trend that is happening now in UK, actually started a couple of years ago. We see a trend towards education. I am lecturing for the London Metropolitan College on project control, as well as the degree in project management. But the industry now is pushing for not certification, but qualifications on project control. So there's level 3, level 4, and now soon there will be a degree on project control, which is brilliant. So education, which means continuous development. And you don't, even if you are like me, a mechanical engineer, and you're a project manager, you can still do a level 3 project control to understand what's happening there. On the technology side, I feel very sort of comfortable with blockchain, and I'm working with another group where we've done a proof of concept on how blockchain can support project management in construction.
Okay.
And we're moving forward with that with a major organization in UK. There is a lot of talk about machine learning and artificial intelligence. Now, although I'm looking ahead, like blockchain, I am a bit cautious because, as Professor Melanie Mitchell called, artificial is one thing we cannot have in project management, but specifically in project control. We cannot class everything, the same. No project is the same, no project manager is the same. So if you try and work with statistics to forecast for a project the outcome, then I'm afraid we are not at that stage yet. Maybe some machine learning, but we'll have to be doing so many of the same projects to enable machine learning to work that I don't think we are here yet. I think we need a lot more. And by that, I mean, from my side, I'm looking at neural networks, but not the ones that you train and then they decide on their own. Neural networks that will work with the project controller and the project team to establish a number of scenarios out, and not just let the computer run a number of simulations and give me an output. So I'm seeing an interface between human being and neural networks, possibly I don't know, maybe the next 10 years.
Yeah, well, time is hurtling by, and 10 years is kind of like a nanosecond in in previous
And,
lives.
and, and technology improves.
Yeah, and but it all goes back to what you said earlier on in our chat, that we need people. The machines can't run the projects. The project controls can't manage the projects. We need the project managers and the resources out there, delivering the actual elements themselves. So it's a good interface is the right word. I think you're right
Yeah,
there.
and also we need to decide as individuals, project managers, but also as companies, that when we talk about processes, we implement them. I mean, I'm working with two organizations now, and one of the things I'm trying to push for is implement proper resource management. And to be fair, from my side, I haven't seen, it's a process that is very poorly done.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Tell us a little bit more. How so?
and it's done because to do it properly, you need to have properly resource schedules, logically linked schedules, and you need the commitment from the company to do everything via a scheduling tool and not running different bits of software. Yes, by different discipline managers and everything. We need to integrate that information. Yes, and therefore use the scheduling tool, which is what they were designed, 30, 40 years ago. The basic thing that I was working on an Artemis 6000 mini computer, and it was for us to do cash profile and resource management. And we still are not doing it properly. In my last 6 years, 8 years, I'd say, out of 5 organizations, there was only one that was doing, and for a specific scarce resource.
Okay.
And that tells a lot about our industry. And I'm not talking about construction only. I'm talking about all the others.
All industries. Well, because projects happen in every vertical. So
Exactly.
yeah, and I'm sure whilst we experience different issues relevant to the industry, I'm sure that there are lots of core issues across all of those industries for sure. So if I didn't know anything about project management, Dimitris, and I was just coming straight in and saying, well, look, it's just a job has to be done and somebody needs to do it, and I've got my budget here and I've got my deadline date. What little golden nugget would you give me as a rookie and say, now, Caitríona, let me just give you one piece of advice. What
Okay,
would it
now,
be?
Caitríona, have you got a clear scope with defined outcomes? That would be my first question.
That's it. Started for 10.
Start from 10, and then if you say, yep, I have everything signed here by the client, we want A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and say, okay, the next thing is, do you know your packages of work? Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
by that I mean, not only what you're going to deliver, but also how you're going to split your job, your project, right, into packages of work. And therefore, I'm falling into what I said, my standard project management structures that will guide the others that are going to work in the team. That will guide the design manager, the procurement, the construction guys. They will guide the team.
So demystifying project controls, having your plans and your schedules and your scope in place sounds a lot like common sense.
It wasn't just that, but in the book, I'm also talking about, the department.
Oh,
Yes,
yes, right.
is it a department or is it just a discipline? What I'm saying, what is project control? I'm saying if it is a department, and I'm not just talking about, an individual sitting in a project,
Yeah.
how do we structure the department? What is that structure that needs to be, what are the disciplines that need to be integrated? Yes. What is the supporting documentation? I mentioned earlier the project control plan,
Yes.
which is something that needs to be there just below the project management plan. I mean, if I revert back to your question, as a rookie project manager, I'll tell you, although it's a hard question, have you got your project management plan? and that will tell you everything. Yeah? So what are the software tools that can be used to support you as project controller? And this is what I'm saying in the book. And it could be one, or if it's more, like in the case, where you have transformation and you need to link to enterprise resource planning tools. How do you do that? What are the outputs? Apart from report, there are other things that project control does. I mentioned resource management, one of earlier. Then, earlier on, we were talking about, the interfaces with the other departments,
Yes.
Do you need to not forget the other departments, even if you're in a project in the middle of nowhere, the data goes somewhere back in the head office, and that data needs to be structured. And then also I'm talking about, issues that need to be considered by project controllers. So it's not, so I try to capture 30 years of experience and, disseminate this to practitioners. And the other thing I want to do, and this is as a learning lesson from my PhD, because I was told you cannot reference books. And when I asked the question, why is that? It's because the question and the good response was because books are not peer reviewed. So when academics send out articles and into, good journals, these are peer reviewed, and then, depending on the decision, they're published.
Yes.
The point that I was given was because anybody can write a book, books cannot be referenced. So the way I wrote my book is that I used so many references for things that I said that hopefully, even people that are doing a degree or people that are doing something, they can use the book as a reference. So I didn't look just the practitioner's way, but also looked a bit further out to the guys that study project management.
So you had your scope defined before you put pen to paper.
And also have exercises in there. So when they read the book, they can practice, by looking at 7 exercises that are there at the end of the book.
Excellent. Well, I mightn't do those tonight, but I certainly will get through them sometime and apply some of the lessons that you've learned, Dimitris, and you've done the hard work already. So,
but you're not going to give your answers to my students, will you?
Nope. They have to go through the course for sure.
Good.
Yeah. Dimitris, thank you so much for your time today. I've enjoyed talking with you, and you've got an awful lot of very good stuff and very interesting things to say. And I'm delighted that the Project Controls is its own degree course now. So I will have information about these then in the show notes at the end of the podcast. So Dr. Dimitris Antoniadis, thank you very much.
Caitríona and Project Paradise, thank you very much for the invitation, and look forward to hearing from you in the future.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.